I've been in the business. I've been in the business for about 18 years. I started with a boutique firm and wound up with Keller Williams, Keller Williams in Albany a couple of years ago, and absolutely loved it, but they didn't come south. And long story short, I connected with Anna and Rosemary, and we wound up here in Kingston. And I truly believe, and I've said this over and over, I've been in real estate since I'm around 42, 41 or 42. I believe if I started with Keller Williams, I'd be a millionaire today. I really do. The training here is unbelievable. It's still my goal. I don't have as much time left, but it is still my goal. So this is my first time doing the class. So I'm going to be reading some notes. I would love class participation. Otherwise, I mean, you guys don't want to hear me drone on. So I know that you met with Rita, or most of you met with Rita on Monday. And the goal of Spark is that you get a listing appointment or an appointment, doesn't have to be listing, a buyer or seller appointment in 1 week, and get your first contract in 30 days. Is there anybody that has not done that yet? And you don't have to, I mean, okay, John, well, that's why you're here. And this is a great class. And I will also want to say, give my other plug for Ignite. When I went to the Keller Williams in Albany, I had been in the business probably for 14 years at that point. I took Ignite twice. I was like, why didn't anybody ever tell me this stuff? So, you know, you own your business. You can be as successful as you want. And Gary Keller says you can be anywhere you want in 5 years. And I'm a firm believer. So the class is going to be about an hour today. If we have time, we're going to do some stuff on, or if anybody hasn't done it before, on command, we're going to add Patty is co-teaching with me today, and she's in now. So we're going to add a contact to your database and set up a smart plan and tag them. So if nobody's done that, Patty's going to walk you through that at the end. And after that, the last hour, we're going to do, your script play, your contacts, add 10 contacts, the things that are in your book that you're supposed to be doing every day. So, you're supposed to be doing your database, your practicing scripts, contacting clients, and getting to know your market. So I have, let me just see. So what successful agents do every day. So we grow our business and we run our business. And one of the things that you need to do is, if you don't grow your business, you have no business to run. So the left side is definitely more important for us. And today we're going to talk specifically about lead generation for buyers and sellers. So a couple of things that you need to do is you need to know your market. And there's a few ways you can do that, and we'll get into that later on. But Gary Keller has 5 things that he says every agent should be doing every day. It's lead generation, lead follow-up, go on appointments, negotiate offers, and script and role play. And we are going to be doing 3 of those today. We're going to be talking about lead generation, lead follow-up, and scripts and role play when you guys are on your own doing that. And you have an understanding the lead generation model is going to allow you to launch into and grow your real estate business as big as you want. So we can go into the next slide. So the things that we're going to talk about, the overall thing is the lead generation model. Then we're going to talk about actually lead generation, database, and sales pipeline. So the big picture is lead generation. So it's actually in 3 parts. Let's see. Lead generation, which is the top part, it's prospecting and marketing, and then leads and contacts. And then the next part is your database. And well, leads and contacts is your database as well. And then the sales pipeline, which is cultivate. It's, I think it's 4 through 8. So the big picture is, what is the big picture? What's the goal here? What are we trying to do? Somebody come off mute and help me. Why do we lead generate?
Grow your database.
To grow your database. And what's the goal of growing your database?
business.
What was that?
More business.
More business. And what's the goal of that? What's the ultimate goal?
Closing.
Yay, closings, money. And so the big picture is to close deals. And closing deals will help us reach our financial goals. And financial goals will help you fund your big why. I mean, that's why we're all here. Have any of you guys talked about your big why, or anybody want to share what their big why is? You know, for some people, it's buying a house. Some people, it's paying off a mortgage. Some people, it's paying for their kids' college. Some people, it's getting out of debt. So whatever your big why is, if you keep that in the back of your head or in a picture, something that you could look at every day. I happen to have a vision board that helps me stay focused as to why I do this, because there are some days I wonder why we do this. And, you know, you'll see that it's, you know, it can be a little crazy and frustrating, especially in a market like this. Okay. So we can go to the next slide, please. So again, it's the lead generation activities, the database activities, and the sale pipeline activities. So while we're in here, people move up and down. So it's not like you get them, then you have a lead, then you cultivate. Sometimes people go up and down. I just had clients call me that I worked with 2 years ago that didn't buy a house. So they were down here at number 5 at appointments, and they didn't buy a house. So they went back up into leads and contacts, right? Where I could connect and cultivate them. So that's the first thing, is lead generation, and then the database and how to work your database. And we have Command, which I don't know if you guys have had training, or if you haven't, Lori does training, Eileen does training. We have all kinds of places where you can go get trained on Command. And then the next thing is to cultivate. And
so with this model, like everyone should have gone over like your economic model first to kind of get your goals, what kind of appointments that you need on a daily basis, on a weekly basis, on a monthly basis. So you do your economic model, and hopefully everyone has that. And if you haven't, your PC coach should be able to get that for you. And then you go through, you get your goals, whether it's your say $100,000 a year, and you figure out what your average commission is, and that you're going to have to sell, say, 12 houses a year. And then that gets broken down to 1 home a month. And then you have to figure out if you need to talk, how many people do you need to talk to, right, to get those appointments and those contracts. So all of the economic model ties into this lead gen model. So what you need to do from this point here is know that you may need to have 1,000 people in your database to hit your goals, because there's only a certain percentage of people that get into your database that are going to buy or sell this year. So the whole keys with this is to prospect and market, to get out there and talk to people. And then one of the things, Beth, right, is what's the difference between leads and contacts? Do you know the difference between leads and contacts? Does anybody know the difference? So a lead is more of a one-way conversation, to where you're reaching out to somebody. Maybe you're just getting to know them. You're just getting to either a cold call, or a neighbor said, hey, I think Joe up the street's going to sell. That's a lead. You've kind of been given that opportunity to speak with somebody, but you haven't had a two-way conversation. Your contacts are going to be somebody I'm going to say, hey, John, how are you today? Chris told me that you are ready to move down south to North Carolina, and that you're thinking about selling your home. And, so he said that, it would be okay if I give you a call. Now we're having a conversation. And if John responds and he wants to have a conversation with me and says yes, now he becomes a contact. So it's kind of all the method of how you get people into your database. So there's prospecting and marketing, prospecting is quicker results, marketing is long-term nurturing results. Then you get them into your funnel and you want to make your leads become contacts. So it's all about the follow-up and staying in touch with everybody. So leads is more of a one-way offering, where your contact, now you're having a conversation. Beth, you want to?
The other thing between leads and contacts is that you can set them up on different smart plans, and that's the whole idea. You know, and once you make somebody a contact, you have to make sure you switch them over in Command, because you don't want to keep sending them the same drip campaigns that said, we haven't heard from you. Are you still looking for a house? You know what I mean? You want to make sure that, you know, so you have to be aware of that. And there are tons of smart plans in Command. And if you're savvy enough, you can make your own, but there's a lot of them. And I think Patty probably has a couple with the coaching, right? Patty, you have that with your with the PC coach.
Yeah. So, and the other thing is, like, I'm working with a couple right now where I started with them probably a year and a half ago. And because of their circumstances, and this was probably even 2 years ago, because it was way prior to COVID, they were self-employed and they couldn't get the mortgage. So, you know, we had met and we had looked at a few homes, but we didn't buy a house at that time. So they travel all over the place for work and everything, but I put them into a smart plan. I put them on a campaign. I sent them holiday hellos and things like that. So we're actually looking now for a house with them 2 years later. And the way that she got back in touch with me was through Command, because she lost my business card and she lost my phone number, but she was getting those little quarterly emails from me, or the holiday emails from me that I had just set up into Command. I didn't even have to worry about it because it was automatically doing that. And then I actually got a message from my Kelly Bell that, you know, it was, hey, Patty, we're ready now. We've saved our money. We're ready to buy a house. So we've been out right now hunting for a home for this couple. And that was because of Command, putting them into my sales pipeline and staying in touch without really having to think about it. So that's what this whole, you know, lead gen program can do is it can help. If you use Command the way it's supposed to be used, and you market through Facebook or through however you choose to market, prospect by picking up the phone and calling people in your database and converting the leads that you get into contacts. It's all a system, it's all a model, and being consistent with it is how you're gonna win the deal and get somebody into a house and get a closing.
Yeah, I just want to add to that any coach, any real estate coach is going to tell you all these steps, but nobody has it set up this easy. I mean, it's a little bit to set it up, but once it is, it's a no-brainer. You have to go in and check your tasks and find out what's going on. And yeah, that's it. And we'll talk a little bit more about prospecting and marketing too, the difference. I'll do that here if I want to wait. So yeah, we can go to the, no. Yeah, we'll do that. We'll do it here. So prospecting and marketing are different. One of the main differences is that prospecting is pretty cost effective. It costs you time, and marketing costs you money. So you do have, I don't know if anybody printed their packet that they had on, I think it's on page 2. There's prospecting and marketing ideas. And I'd like to open it up and see if some of you have been in the business, have you done any of these things? And if there's anything on here that has worked for you or hasn't worked for you. And, you know, what do you think? You know, everybody's different. Some people love cold calling, which, by the way, we can't do yet, right, Erin? We're still not allowed, right? Okay.
September now still.
Okay. So you can, however, call a FSBO if you have an actual buyer. You have to have a bona fide buyer, but otherwise we can't cold call. So some people would rather do that, sit in their office and not look at people. Other people are, you know, we call them belly to belly or face to face. You want to see somebody. That tends to be more my way of doing it. So does anybody have anything to share? Have they tried anything? Has anything worked for them or not worked? Because I have a couple of things on here that that I do that are not on here. So, but I want to hear from some of you guys first. And if you haven't done anything, what would you pick? Are you face to face, or would you rather,
So I'm working on like my personal Instagram story. So it's more focused on like, it does let people know that I'm in real estate, and I'll show if I'm doing an open house, I'll put that on there. But my point with that is just to grow the amount of followers and over time make that a more important part of the business. But what I have been doing that's more direct is I've been meeting a lot of new friends in the area. We're new here. So I've gotten a few referrals from the new friends that I've made because I introduced myself as a real estate agent. And, I don't dwell on that. We develop a relationship, but through them knowing that, I've been getting quite a few really decent leads from that. So I guess that's my example.
No, and that's great. Thank you for sharing. That is great. And it's, it's what works. So you go to social events, or you go out with friends, and it's not the focus of your, it's not like, hey, I'm a real estate agent. It doesn't work for me to say, do you know anybody that wants to buy, sell, or, that whole thing just doesn't work for me. So
Yeah.
I'm more social, and even my social media is not, look what I sold, I'm the top producer. But it's more, I like to be community based. And I think that people want to have value. They don't want to see, honestly, most people, in my opinion, I don't think people care how much you sold or if you're a top producer. They want to know, can you sell their house?
Yeah.
And for me, it's important to be a part of the community. And that's the kind of people I want to attract, right? I want to get people that know, like, hey, well, let's call Beth and see where there's a great coffee shop.
Yeah.
So along those lines, you can do things like with your social media, which you guys all should be previewing properties. Whether you're doing it on the MLS or you're doing it, going to open houses, and wherever or broker open houses, wherever you go, ask whoever's in charge. If it's an agent in our office, can I videotape and walk through and do a Facebook Live or an Instagram Live? People love that. You're going to stumble at first, but it's like failing forward. I look at my first one I did, and I haven't done them in a while. I have had some issues. So yeah, it's hard to see yourself, but once you do it, people want to see real, in my opinion, and that's who I want to work with. I don't want to work with people. I don't want to be, my picture tries to make me look polished, and I am in a sense, but I'm real. My clients know the end of the day after 4 o'clock, like my words are gone. Like it's just where I'm at. The other thing that we didn't talk about is Keller Williams referrals, getting referrals from other Keller Williams agents. And so you all know that Mega Camp is happening, and 2 of our market centers are down south, right? They're, closer to New York City. Those people, there's some second home buyers there, but those people that live there are our second home buyers up here. So just by going to Mega Camp, you could make a connection with an agent down there. Rita, you talked to Rita on Monday, and I don't know if she said it, most of her business was KW referrals. They call you up and say, I have a buyer, I have a seller. So going to social functions, even with other realtors, I never got the value in that. I'm like, why do I want to see other realtors? So that's why you want to make connections. And I've gotten a few referrals from being, going to things like that. So.
And the other thing with that is if you go on to Command, there's on the referral tab, the applet there, you can actually look at a map to see where people are moving from, from what this area and where they're going to based on that map. And then you can connect with people in other states and refer people maybe that are moving down south. You can call that KW agent and refer them business. And then at the same time, I have somebody I'm working with from Florida right now who is actually referring me seller leads of people that they spoke to that want to move to Florida from this area. And so now I am reaching out to those local people to see if they want to sell their home up here. but there's no one right way to prospect or market. It's really, some people do it completely through social media. Some people completely do it through their database. Some people advertise a billboard sign. I mean, there's no one right way to do it. The whole key is to get out there and speak to people and form relationships. So it's whether you do it your comfort level. Some people are good at cold calling, and some people like to talk to people that they know. So you have to figure out where your comfort level is and how you can fit into that. But without people in your database, without marketing yourself, without prospecting, you're not going to move forward.
Does anybody on the call have a listing? Okay, so there's a couple of things you could do. First of all, open houses are a great way to get buyers. So if you don't have a listing, go to somebody in the office and say, I would love, that has a listing that you would like to be at. I will be happy to do an open house for you, figure out when it would work for them. You know, it might cost you a couple of balloons. Maybe you put flowers on the table, some cookies and bottles of water or whatever. And sometimes the agent might even help you with that. That's a great way to pick up clients. Postcards, you know, if you have a listing, you know, really listings are where it's at. Our goal, your goal really should be to get listings. That's really, because then you can market from there. And I think it's for every listing you get, they say you can pick up 2 buyers. So you're going to get a lot of phone calls, but you'll actually probably close 2 deals. So the other thing you could do is on social media, again, preview somebody else's house or ask the agent, can I just go look and just do pictures? Say, you know, I'm at this great listing today, previewing, this is what it looks like. You have to put whose listing it is. You can't make believe it's yours, but you know, people love that stuff. And again, you don't necessarily have to do it live. You could do it, you know, just pictures, you know, in your story. People love the stories too. And the other thing that I like to do is go to local, you know, coffee shops or restaurants. You know, I was here, this was great. I met the owner, sometimes take a picture. You know, you're getting out into the area and you know, you're getting other businesses involved. Again, being community oriented, if that's what's important to you. And I think that it should be, you know, we're bringing people, especially, we do a lot of second homes. We're bringing people into the community. You want to be the agent that knows, you know, where to go. We don't tell them about our swimming holes, but we'll tell them everything else.
Yeah, I've definitely, I did find a swimming hole, and somebody else knew about it, but they're like, you can't tell anybody, don't put it on Facebook because everyone will learn about it, and then there's gonna be more regulated. Oh, okay, I've learned.
Yeah, that's upstate 101. Don't talk about your swimming holes.
Yeah. I do have a question. So I would love to do an open house, and I know the ALS team, for social media, you can ask them, and it seems like you have permission to like post stuff on there. But for open houses, how do we find, who do we reach out at Keller Williams to know who to talk with about, like who has houses that would be open, or who has the listings that we could follow up with?
So what you would do is go on the MLS and look at Keller Williams listings, see who has listings, look at a listing that you'd like to do, and just call the agent and say, look, I'm new in the business. This is all about getting out of our comfort zone a little bit, right? I'm new in the business, and I don't know if you've had an open house, but I would love to do one for you. And again, when you do the open house, I don't know that can we door knock? Are we allowed to door knock now, Erin? Probably
I
not.
don't think so.
Yeah, let's just.
I think it's part of that state of emergency, no cold calling, no door knocking.
Okay, so you could do a social media blast, do it specifically, and Pat can probably help you with that. Go on Facebook and do a blast to the neighbors. You know, put up signs early, open house Sunday. You can do postcards if you get it early enough. Send them out to the neighbors or a note. So, and it's a really great way. I was on a call last week with a guy that I don't know how long in the business. He spent no money on marketing at all in his first few years in the business. All he did open houses 7 days a week. So he must live in an area where, you know, you could do that, you know, and and open houses are area specific. You want to probably stay more in Ulster, and closer to a town would probably be better. And you'll also get the neighbors wandering in that are just nosy, but if you hit it off with them, maybe they're thinking to sell their house, down the road. It's all about connections and
Yeah.
meeting people. So open houses are great ways to do that. I think.
So do you need to have a pre-qual or pre-approval for an open house to get in, or is that just for the showings?
Just for showings.
Okay.
You would have a sign-in sheet, and honestly, whoever you do the open house for you would have to go by what they say. They have their own set of how they do things.
Okay.
And it also will help you. I mean, you're new to the area. It'll help you to get to know other areas and see the houses. I mean, I went to a listing the other day. Where was I? I was an open house and I was all excited. I was going to start posting to Facebook, and it wasn't really a great house. So I didn't do it. So, I mean, you have to, you do what you want to represent as well. So you have the luxury of doing that. Look up our Keller Williams agents, see a house that you like, and just say, look, we try to come from contribution here. We do. We recommend everybody comes from contribution. So hopefully somebody is going to let you do that. And I'm sure that they would. Okay, so I guess, any questions on that? Any input?
So somebody just Carol just wrote the app called Nextdoor. So the one thing with Nextdoor is that's what feeds our neighborhoods on command, is that Nextdoor app. So one of the things I had taken a class with Nick Baldwin, who does a lot with Facebook and generating leads that way. If you either have somebody that just bought in the area, or neighbors or whomever, the more people that sign up for the Nextdoor app in the different neighborhoods, the more neighborhoods we're going to have on command. But that's how that's fed. So that's really is a great app. There's a lot of communication through it. And it's also directly helps us build our mapping and our searches right in through our website as well.
Good
I
point.
wasn't aware of that, but come to think of it, when I click on a house, it is Keller Williams. It's interesting. I wasn't aware of that.
Yeah, our neighborhoods on command, when you search, when you see all those blue outlined areas, are actually fed through the Nextdoor app. So the more people we encourage to sign up for Nextdoor, the more neighborhoods are going to be covered.
Yeah, good point. Good point. Thanks, Patty. So, so we're on to database. I think you could go to the next slide. So your database centrally stores all your clients' information and any deals you have going on. It's updated regularly, can be organized to meet specific needs, and lead generation to feed your database. It's all in there. So now we're going to go to the next slide and actually talk about leads and contacts, which Patty already hit on a little bit, the difference between a lead and a contact. And just like the whole pipeline, they can go back and forth. You might be in contact with somebody and then radio silent. So you're not going to send them something saying, will I see you this week, if you haven't heard from them, right? So you got to make sure that you have the right pipeline set up. And I think obviously the more information you can get is the better. So you want their name, a phone number, an email address, and a physical address. Because if you have the physical address, you can set them up on the neighborhood watch where they can watch what's going on in their neighborhood. And most people will love that. And if you have contacts, like, did you do the phone thing with Rita where you went through your phone to see how many contacts you had? Did you guys do that? See how many contacts you have? The app, if you look in your phone.
We did.
Yeah, so if you go to your phone and see how many contacts you have, the average is you'll get 6.4% business out of your contacts. So if you have 100 contacts, you can get 6.4 deals a year. I don't know how you get 0.4, but it could happen apparently. Actually, if you sell half a house and have to give a referral, it might be 0.4. And also 10% referrals. So if you, the whole idea is to stay top of mind. Let me see. So I want to say here. I think that's it. I think Patty went over most of that.
So I think, and they have on here with the leads, like we talked about, you know, like I said, you know, the neighbor down the street might be thinking of buying, you know, here's their name and number. So that's your first one way conversation, you know, where now you're going to give them a call, hopefully connect. And now once you connect with somebody, you need to go through and have the conversation, find out what their motivation is, and get a little more source from them on what their next steps are. So it's, if you get the lead, the key is to do the follow-up and to make that phone call and touch base with them.
So does anybody have any ideas on how to get more leads? Like how do you get leads? So we talked about talking a little bit, you know, that's belly up. What about going through your Facebook, your friends on Facebook, getting their information, you know, uploading what you can and just reaching out, you know, hey, I saw you on Facebook. I just want you to know, this is what I do. I'd like to set you up on it. Would you like to know what the houses in your area are worth? They don't need to know the terminology. You know, it's going to be a yes or a no. And again, so we're going to get to it on the next page, you know, sending out either a biweekly or weekly newsletter. You know, I don't send out, this is my new great list. I mean, some agents do, and there's nothing wrong with that if that's how you work. But I usually say, you know, these are the farmers markets in town right now, you know, click here, click, or in the area. I do the whole Hudson Valley. These are the farmers markets in town. This is what the market, the housing market is like right now. You know, houses are up, you know, 6.4%. Days on market is down. And then at the end, I might put, this is my featured listing. And sometimes I'll ask for more information. Like, I don't know if I have your home address. If you'd like to know the specific market in where you live, please, you know, forward me your address. You know, so that's one way to get leads. The other way is, I know we carry business cards, but if you're in a business or you're with somebody, get their business card. Like if they say, can I have one of your business cards? Well, do you have one? I mean, your average Joe is not going to have one, but any businesses, get whatever information. And you want everybody in there. You want vendors, you want, you know, anybody that you use, your hairdresser, your insurance guy, you know, anybody that you use, you want their information and put it in there.
And with that too, is if you start going around to businesses within your area where you sell and introduce yourself to those businesses with your card saying, you know, I'm a real estate agent. I'm trying to make a welcome packet for anybody new coming to the area. I'm trying to put together one sheet with addresses, phone numbers, and what your service is. I would love to partner with you on that. And then in exchange, you know, and if you hear of anybody that's thinking about selling or buying, you know, here's a couple of my cards. I'd, you know, love to have you pass them out as well. So it's not only lead generating within people that you know, or gaining new possible buyers, sellers, or investors, but it's also connecting with the businesses. One of our Greene County agents, Dave, he networks with all of the businesses in Greene County, and he even has gone as far as on his for sale signs will promote a business, and then at that business they'll have his listings hanging up on a bulletin board. So they go back and forth and they work with each other. And he's probably one of our number one agents. He's got to be in the top 10 at least, I think, right, Beth?
He is. Mm-hmm. So did that trigger anything for anybody? Did anything come to mind? Did you hear anything that you hadn't heard before? I'm hoping.
I've met people at the baseball field with my kids, just having conversation on the bleachers. And my backdoor neighbor, who I sold him that house, we met when our kids were playing t-ball, and we were just talking and he goes, oh, I love this neighborhood. I really want to move up this way. And it was just a conversation. And I said, well, I said, I live here and I'm a real estate agent. And within 3 months, he was my neighbor. I was in Sam's Club the other day and ran into a friend and started having a conversation in line and she asked me how business was. And I told her, and the guy behind her heard us talking about real estate. He goes, oh, you're a real estate agent. And I said, yes. And he goes, I have some rental properties that I just don't want to have anymore and would love to talk to you for a few minutes. So I met him out in front of Sam's Club. We had a conversation. I gave him my business card and he has a couple of houses in Kingston that he has got to get ready to sell. So those are potential listings that might come up. You never know where your next lead is going to come from. And it's really not like being salesy or talking about it all the time. Like just saying that, oh, I'm a real estate agent. It's, it's more just having conversations. How are you doing? What are you doing? What's new? And most people right now, because of our real estate market so hot, it's going to come back to you. So you never know where that conversation is. Always have your business card on you, always be prepared. The more you, like Beth said, you every day you get on and you check to see what's new on the market, you check to see what's sold. Don't be afraid to go out and preview houses. If you have houses that are in your area where you want to sell, make an appointment to do an agent preview on those homes so that you can get into that house. You can see what it looks like so that when somebody starts speaking to you about the market, you're going to sound like, everything that's going on, what the prices are, what the house looks like. Oh, they have just updated their bathroom. Oh, their basement's finished with a great family room, or they just put new windows in, whatever the case may be. They're going to know, what's going on. And then when it comes time for them to sell, they're going to give you that call. So that's all about staying in touch. And that's what that, getting them into your database and what we're going to go over all comes from. But you just never know where your leads. There's so many different ways to get a lead. It's just really keeping in conversations and keep building your relationships.
I just want to piggyback on what Patty said. Is she gave them her card. It's more important, and I don't know if you did, Patty, it's more important to get their information because they're going to stick your card somewhere and they're going to say, where was that agent? And then the next time they're in the store, they're going to say, I hear somebody else, and they're going to say, oh, you're a real estate agent.
Right,
So
exactly.
it's important to get their information. I know of an agent that doesn't carry her cards with you. She says, give me your information. I don't have my card with me. Can you give me your information? I mean, there's probably danger to that too, but I mean, wear a Keller Williams hat or a real estate hat. I have a mask that says, this girl sells real estate. My daughter hates it. She thinks it's so corny, but when I was out in the store, on the back of your computer, go to a coffee shop, put, I sell real estate on the back of your computer. I mean, I've had conversations with people like that. So those are all basically free. It's a sticker or a hat. So there's tons of ways to get leads. And, again, there's so much more. I mean, you have all what we have here on this list, and there's so much more out there. I mean, Google it. Okay, so now we're talking about leads and contacts and what we have to do, how many touches they need. So for leads, it's 19 to connect. So you want to make a connection with them. You want a response from them. So a quarterly phone call or text, I would say, which, by the way, we can't text people we don't know either at this point. It's phone calls, no cold calling, no texting. A monthly email or newsletter, market report or video. Again, we can make those, the emails on command are beautiful. You can really do a nice job with those. They're like drop and drag. They look really professional. And again, if you don't have the content, if you don't have it, ask an agent. I want to feature a house. Can I use yours? And if you don't have the stats to say, I sold 100 houses or whatever people say, Keller Williams, these are our stats. You know what I mean? Use Keller Williams, use the offices, use the companies. Promotional direct mail, a magnet, a calendar, a marketing report. You can just put a marketing report in an envelope and say, just wanted you to know what was going on in your neighborhood this month. Even if they're getting the mailing, it's just, even if they're getting it through command, it's another touch. a calendar, I do that at Christmas time, sometimes a calendar or some kind of something like that. You can buy them in bulk and they're pretty reasonable. And then One Touch, an annual event, which, at this point probably is not cost effective if you're new in the business. But, I was on another call with an agent that does, at the end of the season, brings all the kids to get ice cream, all the kids that played softball or soccer. And she said, ice cream's cheap. I think she said it costs her $500. She's like, get whatever you want. It's $500. But she's front of mind for all those parents. So that's one way to do it. And then with contacts, you want to stay more front of mind because you're already having conversation with them. And we want to convert them to where they raise their hand and say, I'm thinking about buying, or we're thinking about upsizing or downsizing, or my neighbor's selling. I love that. Can I give them your information? Oh, yes, you can. You can give everybody my information. You don't have to ask my permission. So the contacts are 36 to convert, 4 touches of telephone calls, 26 touches. So a bi-weekly email, some time of information of value. And again, we talked about, it doesn't have to be real estate related. It can be anything. During COVID, you could send out, you can get masks here for this much money, or I found hand sanitizer. You can order it from here. They still have it online, whatever's, and you need to be relevant and timely. Like, you're not going to send, a Christmas card in June. I don't know why I said that. Nobody would do that, but you want to be timely and relevant. You want to be with what's going on. Touches are events, get-togethers and parties. And Vicki in our office, who's also up in Greene County, does events, and they're very successful. She's really good at them. And so if anybody wants to know, how to do them, I would reach out to her. And then again, the 4 touches, the promotional, direct mail, magnets, calendars, market report, etc. So
And that's just a note with all that, Beth, too, is they have a system. It's the DTD2 system, which is based on the alphabet and last names. And if you use that system and you go through it, it will help you quarterly call all your contacts 4 times a year. So it just makes it simple so that you're not, so it just helps you keep focused and in track of all those contacts. So there are different systems out there and models that you can use so that you're not repeating your calls. And then that's where you use command as well. Sorry, Beth.
no, that's okay. Do you want to elaborate a little bit what that is? So
it's just going through your database, and it's actually calling and texting alphabetically. So like this week is the week of August 9th. So you would call everybody in your database whose last names start with F or G, and they systematize it so that one letter is a popular last name letter and the other letter isn't as popular. So, but you would go this week, you're going to call everybody that's in your database that's last name starts with F and G, and then anyone whose last name starts with Y, you're going to text them. And it could just be a simple, hey, how's it going? Kids getting ready to go back to school if you have kids, or did you do any summer vacations? I'm just touching base. I have on my text, I hit PK in and it automatically does a signature on my text messages. So it just says Patty Kowach, Keller Williams, Hudson Valley North. I don't have to put that in every single time. But this gets you to make that phone call 4 times a year to where you're reaching out. So it's not that awkwardness where, oh my God, I haven't called them for 2 years. It gets you into routine. It gets, and it's just a care call. Doesn't have to be anything else but a care call.
So one of the things that you can use with that, it comes from Bold. It's called Ford, F-O-R-D, and it's family, occupation, recreation, and dreams. So if you don't know what to talk to them about, hey, Joe, I'm just wondering, how's your job? I know the last time I talked to you, you were up for a promotion. What's going on? Or how's the family? Is your daughter still going off to college, with COVID going on, whatever. And then you're just staying top of mind. And you can go into those contacts and keep notes. So when it comes around again, you can say, because if you're calling, if you have a huge database, even if you have 100 people, by the time December comes around again, I'm not going to remember if Joe got his job or not. So you can keep the notes in there. So you keep it open. And that's something you should be doing you know, we didn't get into, we didn't really talk about it, but I want to, time blocking, like, do you just set the time? This has to be your, if you want to be successful in this business, without this, nothing else is going to happen. You know, something will happen, but it's going to be out of your control. This way you have control. You know, when I first started selling, I was a server and a bartender before I got into real estate. And when I got into real estate, I didn't have any of this information. And people used to say to me, how's it going? And I used to say, well, it's like waitressing on a grander scale. I still go to work and never know what I'm going to make. And that was true. It's not true anymore. You can set up, you know, Patty talked about the economical part of it, that you know, you can set it up. You can know what you're going to make. And you guys are, you know, if you're new in the business, starting here, I'm going to say it again. I think if I would have started with Keller Williams, I'd be a millionaire today. It's still going to happen though. I think that we can go on to the next slide. I
I did
think,
put in the chat, Beth, the DTD2 schedule. So if you guys want to see that, I stuck it in the chat.
thank you so much. So I think the next is managing. Is there anybody here who has not been in command and has not set up a contact or a smart plan? Okay, so we don't need to do that then. So we are going to go to, we can keep going. Yep, sales pipeline. Let me get there too. Okay, so this is the good part. This is where we get. So the cultivate part is when somebody has said, I want to sell my house. I'm looking to buy a house. My neighbor wants to sell a house. You've nurtured them and you've qualified them, and in essence, they've raised their hand. So the next thing that we have to do with them is to get them to an appointment. Let me just see. Well, the next thing we have to do is get them to an appointment. So if it's a listing appointment, you want to get the listing. And if it's a buyer appointment, you want to have them sign the buyer's agreement if they're willing. I know up here it's a little bit tough. And then active is either you're taking them out, showing them houses, or you've listed the house. It's live on the MLS and things are going. And then under contract is, you know, all negotiations, all that, and then the close. And when you're done with the close, they go right back into the pipeline and you start over again. You do this, you know, you just keep nurturing them because these are going to be clients for life, hopefully. And anytime I talked about before, people go up and down within the pipeline. I've been under contract and it falls through and they're like, we're not doing this anymore. We've lost so many houses, we're done. So they have to go back into the top of the pipeline. They would go as a contact at that point because you have communication with them. So let me just think. And go ahead.
What's the difference between appointment and active? So like, you know, I have some showings. Are those considered appointments or are those active because we're actually going out there and seeing the?
You're right. Your active appointment is the appointment to get them to work with you, which
Okay,
if they've reached out to you, they may be already, but the appointment is to get something signed. Like they're working with me as a buyer's agent, or I'm taking the listing, it's signed. And then active is when you actively start doing whatever you're doing. If you're showing houses,
great.
Or if you're, you know, listing their house. Active is when it goes on the market and the process starts.
Okay.
And with your database and when you add people and when you're customizing everything, what's key with this, you know, when you really sit down and you go over the lead gen model and how many phone calls do you need to make to hit your goals? So as you go through, the more information that you put into your database, there's a card in there where you can put the opportunity. You get it as if you're going to start showing and you have an opportunity when you set the first appointment, you know, when you're going out there, when you write a contract, all of this is going to help you get your conversion ratio where it's going to tell you that, okay, I need to speak with 4 people to get them to be contacts. And then out of those contacts, 2 of them are actually going to sign something with me. So now your conversion is like a 50%. So all of that's going to tie into when you're setting your goals each year is how often do you convert the people that you speak with? It's all about numbers, and it's all about really knowing your strengths and your weaknesses, and how many appointments do you need to make? How many phone calls do you need to make to get that appointment? Because that it's all going to tie into your big why, your economic model, and your goals, and how long you have to stay and lead generate. I mean, lead generation is your #1 job as an agent. Every day, or at least 4 days out of the week, you should be setting aside 2 to 3 hours to really just lead generating in whatever type of lead generation is comfortable for you, whether it's out the door and meeting people, or it's on the phone and calling people you know, or getting a source through Facebook ads or whatever, and cold calling people that have responded to an ad that you have run. You have to commit to making those calls, to reaching out and to contacting people, because without making the calls and the contacts and building those relationships, you're not going to build your business. So really, in order to grow the big business, this lead generation, making those contacts, making those calls is your, as Rita would say, your big rock every day. Your 20% is what's going to get you to a closing table. So when you're doing your database, and as you add people like Beth has spoke about, there is a section you can put notes. When you put that person in your database, say it's, you tag them as a seller, you tag them as a buyer, you tag them as a family friend, you tag them as your business person, your attorney. However, you really have to make sure that you customize your contacts so that when you want to send out marketing, or you want to send out emails, or you want to send out some kind of bulk action, you're going to be able to do it by buyers, by sellers, by friends, by business partners. So the more information you feed into Command, the more times you write down when you went on that appointment, and you can customize it to work for you. Like there's blocks where it has, like Beth was just talking about, your actives, your under contracts, your close, your appointments. When you're in Command, you can set it up so that it works for you, where you're cultivating people, like what section of that are you in? When you're showing actively, where are you at with that client? So you can customize it to work for you. There's a checklist in there that you can also customize, so that if you have a buyer, you can go through all the steps with them, and then you can make sure that you're contacting them, and it'll be all automated, and it will remind you of everything that you need to do. Once you get under contract with somebody, you can do a checklist, and it will email you and your buyer or seller with what step you're at, so that you will know where you need to be. So the more information as you're growing your database that you put in for each contact, the more you can utilize Command to do what all these other websites that people pay for do. Our website, when it was created, it was purposely designed to look like Zillow, to look like home.com, to look like realtor.com. If you look at those websites, our website is really designed to look the same way. So your goal, when you get these leads and you get these contacts, is to switch them over to searching our website and to searching your app. So now they're just going to you. Now they're a contact. That's where you're going back and forth with them with a two-way conversation, and you're going to keep them into your sales pipeline, and they're going to actually communicate through our website. I have people that they favorite on my website the homes that they want to see. I can go in, click on them, get the MLS number, and make the appointments all right through Command. So that's why it's so important to keep your database up to date, to put as much information in there as you can, and really know what part of their journey that you're on with them by using the appointment, the active, the under contract, and close, so that it's seamless, and it's easy, and it's automatic. And Command will actually remind you what you have to do if you set it up as you're going along. And as a new agent and just putting this all in, I think it's critical that you really put as much information in as possible, because it's just going to make the task so much easier for you. And then once you get to that closing table, you'll put their date of close in there, and you'll set it up so that 2 weeks before their home anniversary, you're going to get a little reminder saying, oh, John sold his house, you bought his house last year. Don't forget, send him a little note saying, hey, how's the first year been in your house? It's just keeps you top of mind, and it's going to help you keep this pipeline and this your database growing.
I definitely, so I've definitely used the opportunities page and categorize it. I do want to, at some point, sit down with you and figure out how to do like the checklist you were mentioning. I think I've seen, I just need to learn more about that. It seems like it could be really helpful. I know you can do like client updates. So if you update it in here, they'll get, anyways, I need to learn more about that.
Yeah, and you can customize that, and that's all new. And there's always something new that comes out with Command. So the more you stay on top of it and kind of, join some of the Facebook groups to see what's new. Like, I think it was about a month ago, they came out now, if you do a Facebook ad, that lead, goes right into your database. And then you can actually, it's now set up to where we'll automatically send them out their first initial contact.
Okay.
So that's a new feature, but really like Nick Baldwin, Command Your Conversation, some of those groups are just really huge to help you utilize. Our Command does what Zillow does, what Realtor.com does. We just have to learn how to manipulate it a little bit so that we can just do that all through our own systems. And we have mega agents that are doing 20 million plus in sales, and they're just using Command and barely spending any money. So it's really, lead generation, getting those contacts, speaking to people, putting them into Command, and utilizing the system to keep you in touch. McDonald's, everybody's been to McDonald's probably. Everybody's had McDonald's. They haven't stopped advertising. How long have they been around? They're still top of mind. They did a test one time where they stopped advertising for breakfast, and their breakfast sales went down, because when you're driving to work and get your Egg McMuffin and your hot, fresh cup of coffee, it triggers something. You don't even realize it triggers it, but, oh, I got to stop. I'm going to get my breakfast or my coffee. It's just simple things of staying top of mind. And Chris, who's in our PC program, he's actually, he does his weekly newsletter, and he'll just put out events that are going on in the neighborhood where he wants to sell. Nothing to do with real estate, but he'll just send out a newsletter to all the people he's put into his database about an event that's going on in the neighborhood, or just something interesting about maybe a new business opening up or a sale that's going on. So it's just keeping your name out there in front of everybody. And that's what all of this does. And I probably got off track a little bit, but cultivating your clients and staying in touch with them and communication and keeping in contact is going to help you stay top of mind and be that call that they make when they're really ready to buy or sell. Sorry, Beth, I kind of went off.
It's fine. I was going to actually mention, I don't remember if it's in two books, if you haven't read them, The One Thing and The Millionaire Real Estate Agent. If you guys have not read them, you need to. There you go. And I don't remember which one it's in, but Gary Keller talks about Walmart and how they have, I think it's Gary Keller, talks about Walmart and how they only have 2 or 3 brands of things. They don't have, like if you go into the grocery store, you can buy every single brand. Walmart, and those are the brands that are top of mind, and really the marketing and the reaching out is keeping you top of mind, because I think statistically we only have room for 3 or 4 like brands of potato chips or whatever it is, brands of toilet paper, real estate agents. So you can say to people, who's a real estate agent? 1, 2, they'll name 3 people. You want to be one of them. So that's the whole marketing thing. So I think that this concludes this part of the tour today. So we want to talk about some ahas, and I would love to hear from everybody. We've done a lot of talking, and so hopefully you've either got an aha, you heard something that you haven't heard before. Maybe you want to tell us what your big why is. Maybe it came to you when you were sitting here, or you're also going to be doing lead generation after this. Give me your goal. What are you doing for lead generation? Are you contacting 10 people? Are you putting 10 people in? What are you doing? So I really would like to hear from everybody. Do I have to call? Because I don't really want to call. John, since you're talkative, I am going to call on you.
So thinking, there's a lot of things that, okay, one thing that has changed with my thinking, I've been like really intimidated by the newsletters. I just didn't know what content to put in there, but it seems much more attainable or doable now that I can do like a local business package, or there's a farmer's market going on here, or I've just been kind of too intimidated by the idea of it to actually move forward. But now that we've talked about it, it seems much more in line with who and what I'm about. So that is one thing that my thinking has changed on. What I feel differently about, I'm still excited. So I don't know if I feel more excited, I guess. And then what action? So I do need to do a better job at being time blocking. I have like my agenda, my plan for the day. However, you know, if something goes over, then it pushes something else the next day. So I do need to be more disciplined with, you know, allocating my time specifically, not just for a topic, but for a topic within a certain amount of time, so I can keep other priorities moving along as well. And that's something that I've always known and like felt about. However, it's just, I know it's something that it needs to happen, and it's been like reinforced multiple times. So I guess the actions have to be different there. And tools, we have Command, which I have been learning over time, and I completely agree with everything that we've talked about. It is incredibly powerful, and it's a useful tool if you use it. So I agree, I've been putting more data in there. I've been getting reminders. I've been doing smart plans, which has been really successful. I have a lot of new buyers, so there's templates out there for new buyer education. I've looked at it, like I've edited it for like my needs and my buyers' needs, and it seems, they appreciate getting that feedback. So that's something that's automated off my hands, and it's really helpful. And yes, it's like a 2-week program, so especially as we're getting started, it's really helpful. It's really great. It's a great tool. So I rambled,
John,
but yeah.
you've kind of shadowed an agent, right? A little bit?
Yes.
And
Yep.
that's been helpful for you, right?
Yeah, very helpful. So I work with Chris Sellers, and she's very great. And she helps me with leads, but she's also really great at just walking me through processes. And if I have like a question that I'm working with, like a mutual buyer, then she's always there. And we meet weekly, and we're forming a long-term vision. Is we're on a team, but long-term vision. She's the seller's agent, I'm the buyer's agent, and then the next step is there's a team under me, and then I can move over to like the selling team. So it's nice to have so many mentors just walking into this. Patty, Beth, Chris, the whole team, but also nice to have that long-term vision to work toward.
And I think what we're trying to do here at the Kingston office is the power hours again, and whether you're on Zoom or whether you are coming into the office, if you get yourself a partner that you feel comfortable with, and tomorrow we're going to do scripts and things like that and kind of give some ideas. But if you have somebody that you can call up and pretend they're a customer, or they're going to pretend you're the customer, and practice how you talk to people and what you want to say, and then actually say, okay, now for the next 2 hours, we're going to make some phone calls. And, just like when you're on a diet, or if you start a running program, or you want to do something new, if you have somebody to hold you accountable, to do that. So it's not you sitting in the room going, oh my God, I do not want to call all these people right now. I just don't want to hear them hang up on me. I don't want them to tell me to get lost. I don't want them, to say, I work with other people, just leave me alone. Like all your head starts going, oh my God, people are going to say all these horrible things to me. But if you start with people that you know and say, I'm going to call you and I'm going to practice, and then you're going to get to a point where it's much more comfortable and you're really just staying in touch. It's just a care call. And 9 times out of 10, it's going to turn into them asking how you're doing as well. And it's learning to have conversations without being pushy, but also having them on a regular basis so that you stay top of mind and that you keep building your rapport with people as you go along. But there's so many different ways to do things and to get in touch. You just need to find somebody who can push you to that next step. I wouldn't try to do it alone. I think John's in my PC group, and try to stay in touch and try to say, who have you called, what have you done, what's going on. And I think having that shadow, if you have anybody in the office that you're friends with that's been an agent for a while, ask if you can go on a buying appointment, ask if you can go on an inspection with them, ask if you can go to a listing appointment, so that you can see how they do it and what they're saying and how they're approaching people, just to give you that confidence that, oh, I can do that. Like, I think when you imagine things before you do it, it seems so much more overwhelming than when you actually sit down and do it. I think Beth and I, with doing this class, since this is like, a little new to us too, I think we have fear of, teaching the class and making sure we're giving good information. But the more you do anything, the easier it gets. And that's with making these calls and adding to your database and getting leads. The more you do it, the easier it will get.
Yeah, I agree. And that's one of the, I want to go back to Chris and make sure she has proper credit for that, but going on showings with her and inspections has been, I'm really hands-on, so seeing that was great, but also I do that now, and my confidence comes from seeing her do that and learning from her. It's one thing to reading a book and to, sit with yourself, but actually being out there and being able to see that has really been helpful. And you're right, I'm confident now. I have showings this afternoon, and I'm doing it. And it's not like I'm happy to do showings now and open houses. I love, but it all came through working with Chris and the team and getting that initial experience.
Great. Thanks, John. Thanks for sharing. Anybody else an aha or want to share anything else? Did you get anything valuable out of the class? Did you learn something? Tell me if you learned something you didn't know. How about raise your hand if you learned something that you didn't know?
Well, I don't know if I learned something I didn't know or just had an aha moment. So I work a full-time job. I'm a police officer during the day. That's my day job. I'm a police officer.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can. And thank you.
Okay. You're welcome. So last night I had training, and so at the training, I handed out my card to a couple of my coworkers. And one of my coworkers said that he's looking to sell his house. And boom, I have a lead or a contact or something. It turned into something, that's all.
Well, if you've had a conversation with him, then now he's become a contact.
Okay, so he's a contact. I put him in my my contacts on the
And
command.
what's your next step going to be?
I'm gonna either send him an email or call him when he's not at work and get the particulars of the property and probably do a Google search of the house.
Make an appointment to go see him, right? At the house.
Yeah.
Yep. Yep. Good job.
That's great. So
Thank you.
I just want to say quick, I can't remember his name, and I think he's out by Las Vegas, and he was a police officer, and he started doing real estate and absolutely loved it. And he was still an active officer, and he went to work one day, and he had just collected rent from the 10 apartment buildings that he owned, and he had a pocket full of money, and something bad happened at work, and he said, why am I doing this anymore? Like he's like, I have a pocket full of money. And he stopped, he retired. So you go, girl.
Thank
Andrea,
you.
did you have something too?
Well, I just asked them to raise their hand if they didn't want to talk,
Oh,
so.
okay. I didn't know if she wanted to.
Oh, no, Carol's saying something.
Can you hear me? I was concerned that my sound might be distorted.
No,
I
we
can hear you.
Okay. So I'm a bit premature in that I don't have my license yet. I scheduled my state exam for September 15th, and I asked Rita if I could jump on these classes. And I work a part-time job. So unfortunately I won't be able to attend tomorrow, but my big why is that well, I actually had my license in the 90s when my children were young, and now they're 31 and 39. But I then pursued a
Okay.
career in
Where
social
you going on
and human
vacation?
services. No, my big aha is that big why
Okay.
is that I've made a lifetime of making these connections. I've made so many connections. It's just the way I work, and I was a program manager, so my job was to connect people with resources. So I just have those, I've cultivated those skills, and I really want to put them to use in this way. And because I work a part-time job, I'm an office manager, and I see 50 people a day, and I have to, that Ford thing really resonated, because now that they come back, I work at a chiropractor's office. So I know who's been on vacation, who got a new pet, whose child graduated. So all of that stuff, I'm just filing away. And I have an appointment for a haircut this afternoon, and my haircutter has discussed with me the fact in the past that she and her boyfriend want to buy a house. So just all of the above.
Good, thank you. Thanks for sharing, Carol. I appreciate it. And you're gonna be great. Like I said, you're lucky that you're here and getting this training, because it's the backbone. It's what you need. Anybody else?
And
Go
I'll
ahead.
take a deeper dive into command. I haven't had a chance yet, but
Yeah, and there's tons of training out there for you. You can get one-on-ones, but there's tons of training out there if you need it. Anybody else before we start doing lead generation? Okay, so the next hour is going to be lead generation. So you can all go off. Hopefully you're going to add contacts or make phone calls or whatever you're going to do. And then Patty will be back. We'll stay on and check with you when the hour is up, just to see if anybody set an appointment or get some good news from you guys. So thank you all for being on, and good luck to you all in your careers. Like I said, you're in a good place. And if anybody ever needs anything, I'm a phone call away. Like I said, I'm the broker, and even if I wasn't, you can call me. I'm happy to help with any questions, and Patty as well. So good luck on your lead generation.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Does anybody
Thanks,
need
Beth.
a script?